So how about now? Better now? Not so crazy and grainy? If anyone's still here, I don't know. My bad. Is that better? Tell me it's better. Please say it's better. I've done everything I know how to do. Yay, okay, good. All right, so, okay, I'm glad. So I guess this part of the lesson will be, there's like people that aren't even in this class that are like, yeah, it's better, thanks. So I appreciate it, guys. All right, good. So now you can see that helps a lot. So I'm gonna start this problem over and maybe I'll just start saving these based on what they are. So there'll be a video for translations, which was the first one, which I don't know if you can see, but that one seems to be good. Okay, I'm still talking about my frog apparently. So this one I was talking about rotations. So I'm gonna go ahead and backtrack and talk about this rotation. So let's get started because again, time is already ticking, and you know, as my math 8 class knows, we are just always delayed. Like every time we have a plan and it's so perfect, like something just backs it up. So hopefully there's no more delays. So what we're doing again is we are rotating this shape. We're going to rotate it counterclockwise 90 degrees. Okay. And I talked about find a point that you think is easiest to eyeball, but also mathematically. So I like to look for something that's on the axis or close to it. So the point that I wanted to rotate first was R, to make it R prime, because I'm only up 1 on the y-axis and I don't move on the x-axis. So the only thing I can do to rotate 90 degrees is to move it right here on the x-axis back 1. Okay, and we talked about mathematically how to do that. I can't see that. Oh, no, I can't see. Okay, but can you hear me? That is the question. Okay, I think my mic settings are better now. So, okay, me too, but I can still see the grid. Okay. All right, well, I'm going to keep trying. I'm just going to keep on trucking, okay? So I translated this point, okay? And I'm going to talk about how I'm going to get my new point for S prime, okay? So what we do whenever we're doing a rotation that's 90 degrees, what we're going to do is we have this point here for S. It's back 2, down 1, right? So -2, -1, that is S, okay? So that's the one we're looking at right now, okay? And so in order to get to S prime, what I would do is I flip these two to rotate counterclockwise, but the direction I rotate counterclockwise is going to be based on what I do to these numbers, okay? So since I am rotating across the x-axis, not the y-axis, what I need to do is step 1, I need to flip these numbers, okay? So I'm going to put the -1 here, and I'm going to put the -2 here. Okay, but you'll notice that I didn't put a negative here because what I'm going to do is since I'm going across the x-axis, I'm actually going to make this the opposite sign, okay? So my -1 in the y is going to become a +1 in the x for my new point, and -2 is going to stay -2, but it's going to go from the x to the y, okay? You can see that switch there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over 1 in the positive and then down 2, and so now I have S prime right there, okay? All right, let's stay on task, people. Okay, time is of the essence, as you can tell. So let's do the same thing for P, okay? We're back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're up 2, okay? So this is P, all right? So P is back 5, and it's up 2 in the positive, okay? So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch these two, okay? So 2 is going to go in front, -5 is going to go in back, okay? And because I'm going across the x-axis, I need to make this the opposite sign. So it's going to be -2, -5 for P prime, okay? So let's see if that lines up correctly with what we're doing. Okay, so I'm going to go back 2, 1, 2, and down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And we can kind of start to see the shape has kind of turned. We can start to see that now, okay? And there's P prime right there, okay? So, yep, we're on the study guide. We're on the second problem. So I don't know if we're going to get through all these tonight, but make sure you bring your questions in tomorrow morning too, okay? So that's going from P to P prime, okay? Like I said, I take the x and the y, I flip them. I'm going across the x-axis, so I make this the opposite sign. So 2 was positive here. I'm going to make it negative here, and that gives me my new point, okay? So the last one I'm going to do is Q, okay? So here's Q. All right, so the graph is blurry. So like I said, everything's fine on my end. So it might be just the fact that it's live, but when it saves, it'll be better resolution. So if you're looking for something specific, you can always watch the video again. So I'm not sure. It must be a YouTube problem because I haven't had this kind of trouble before. So math 8 issues. All right, so let's do the last point. And like I said, it'll save. You'll be able to see it. Okay. So for Q, I'm back 1, 2, 3, and I'm up 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I'm -3, +4. Okay. And again, I'm going to switch these. Okay, because I'm rotating 90 degrees. So the 4 is going to go in front. The -3 is going to go behind. So it's going to look like that. And I need to make my 4 the opposite sign. So I have a +4 here. So when I bring it to the X, since I'm going across the X-axis to rotate, I'm going to make this a -4. Okay. So our last point is going to be back 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and down 3, 1, 2, 3. And when the resolution gets better, you will see that we get the same shape, just rotated 90 degrees clockwise. Okay. How do you know what to put as the negative when you're doing rotations? That's a great question. Okay. So it depends which direction you're going. If I was going clockwise 90 degrees, okay, when I switch those, since I'm taking the shape across the Y-axis, after I switch them, I would make the Y the opposite sign. Okay. But in this case, I'm going to make the X the opposite sign because I'm taking the shape and going across the X-axis into the third quadrant here. Okay. So that's how we know which one. It depends which way you want to go. Okay. So where this shape started compared to where we want it, those are things we have to think about. I hope that helps. Okay. And that's probably the most confusing part for rotations. So we did a rotation. We did a translation earlier. And again, it'll clear up in the video once it's downloaded. You're going to be fine. The test is very similar to the study guide. And a lot of you guys were rocking the study guide. Okay. So let's talk about a reflection. Okay. Or you know what? No, what I really want to talk about is congruency statements because I know for my class, that was one thing we didn't get into a whole lot. And I know I needed to talk about that. Can you do question 7? Let me find question 7. Yes, question 7 is the congruency statements. So we're going to talk about that. All right. So let me see. I'm afraid to erase my coordinate grid, but it's probably time because it's getting a little messy. So, all right. So question 7 asks us about congruency statements. And again, this will actually be a little clearer to see because I don't have to write so small. So stand by. And by the way, I want to say I didn't have to say it in this video, but thank you all for your awesome behavior. You guys are all participating great. You're on task. You're asking good questions, and you're not, making this unbearable for me. So I appreciate that. Like I said, I do this on my own time. So I want it to be enjoyable and helpful, and you guys make that happen. So I appreciate that. So, and I see some former students in here. Like I said, this will apply to you eventually, but not right now. So question 7 says that we're going to consider the congruency statement. We're saying that these two triangles. Can you see this marker? Is it the marker? Is that a problem? I'm gonna switch to red. Maybe red will be better. I know that green marker sometimes doesn't show up very well on the screen, so maybe that's part of the problem. Okay, here we go. All right, so it says that we're going to consider the congruency statement. We're saying that triangle DOG is congruent to triangle CAT. Okay, we're comparing dogs to cats. The is on your face now. Oh, okay. Anyway, so I'm saying that these two triangles are congruent. So if I were to draw them, they would be the exact same shape. Okay, they'd have the exact same side lengths and they'd have the exact same angles. Okay, so when we're making a congruency statement, it says to identify congruent sides. Okay, so sides, when we name a triangle like this, the ones that are next to each other are, man, no one can see anything. This is so sad. Like I said, it'll save. You'll be able to see it. And like I said, this is for Math 8 only. So if you are in first hour Mr. Coffee's class or first hour in Wiesner or Fitzgerald, this will apply to you. Okay, so you don't have to watch this if you're in any other class period. All right, so since these two letters are next to each other, okay, they form a line segment. Okay, so there's a line segment. Okay, since O and G are next to each other, O and G form a line segment. Okay, and D and G, even though they're on opposite sides, they would form a line segment as well. Okay, so as long as I follow this order, these lines are going to be the same in the same order as the other triangle. Okay, so D corresponds to C, O corresponds to A, and G corresponds to T. Okay, so again, if I were to draw, so I see some people saying meaning what? So let's say I draw D, O, G, right? And I draw a triangle This is going to run into my work, but whatever. And I draw a triangle CAT. Okay, so what I'm saying is when you name a triangle like this, you know, so I said CAT, well, here's CAT. Here's DOG. Okay, so what I'm saying is when you make, you can see the line segments here. I have D to O, which is here. I have O to G, which is here. And I have D to G going this way. Okay, so even though D and G are on opposite sides of the statement, then they still make a line segment based on if you draw the triangle. Okay, can we use a note card on this test? I would make a note card, like I said, and like I said, we'll talk tomorrow about what that means. So, oh, it all cleared up again. Good. Okay, great. So, like I said, we can see that these form line segments. Okay, and triangle cat does the same thing. Okay, so wherever they are in the order, they're going to correspond to one another. So like I said, D and C are the same angle. Okay, O and A are the same angle, and G and T are the same angle, just based on the order of the triangle. Okay, so segment DO, okay, that corresponds to segment CA. Okay, so there's CA. So these two sides are congruent. And again, I'll draw the triangles back, and hopefully that clears things up. So OG corresponds to AT. Okay, so there's AT. So these two are congruent as well. And then DG, okay, so these are the ends. Okay, DG and CT would be congruent. So DG is congruent to CT. Okay, so again, these congruency statements, we can make these just based on how the triangle is named and the order of the letters. Because again, if I draw the triangles, and again, assuming that, or knowing that they are congruent, here's DOG, and here is CAT. Okay, so we're saying that DO is congruent to CA. Okay, we're saying that OG is congruent to AT, which is over here. And we're saying that DG, so there's DG, is congruent to CT. Okay, and so when I put those marks on the triangle, what I'm saying is that, you know, if this has 3 lines here and this has 3 lines here, those are both the same length, line segment wise. So like I said, I know it's a little blurry. Okay, I've said it a bunch of times, but it'll save, it'll clear up, and this will get better. I'm not sure why. This is a YouTube problem. It's not a Mr. Coffee problem. I have nothing else on my Wi-Fi. Camera set up perfectly. Haven't had any issues other times, so I'm not sure what the deal is. So anyway, so these are congruency statements we can make about the sides. Okay. So hopefully that helps. And then, like I said, when this saves, you can always watch this again if that didn't make a whole lot of sense. And of course, you can see me tomorrow, and I'll try to explain it another way. And then I know we also had a question about identifying congruent angles. Okay. So when we name an angle, okay, we name angles from one endpoint with the vertice in the middle and the other endpoint at the end. Okay. So for example, I'm going to change marker colors here so it's a little bit easier to see. It's going to get a little Christmassy here. Okay, so when I'm talking about angle D, okay, the way we would name this angle in a congruency statement is we would say angle ODG, okay, ODG, okay, and again, D is the vertice, so we want to make sure that it winds up in the middle, okay, so there's D in the middle, ODG, okay, and you can see that that's going to be congruent to ACT, okay, so this is congruent to and we need to put a little angle sign here. Sorry about that. Put your angle symbol right there. Okay, so it's just like a little angle, mini angle. So angle ODG is going to be congruent to angle ACT. Okay. So how are we doing with that so far? All right. Any questions on that or any confusion? What's the difference in symbols for the angles versus the sides? So for the sides, oh, my light went off. It's on a timer. So for the sides, what we do is we put a line over the top to state that this is a line segment with endpoints D and O. Okay, so there's D, there's O. So we do DO with a line over the top. And then for angles, we start with a little angle symbol. Okay, so a little angle symbol and then the 3 letters, endpoint, vertice, endpoint. Okay, so hopefully we're all behaving in the chat there. So this is a meme. Okay, yeah, let's make sure we're staying on topic. And I'm seeing some names that maybe I'm not sure if you're supposed to be here, but whatever. All right, so let's talk about another angle. Okay, so I'm going to erase this line here so that we don't get confused. Okay, so we talked about D as the vertice. Let's talk about O. Well, again, the angle for O would be DOG. So we're talking about angle DOG, and we're talking about this one because DOG with O in the middle, we're stating with this that O is the vertice. Okay, and I'll do question 5. Yes, of course. All right. So again, this is going to be congruent to, well, let's find the vertice that corresponds to O. It's A. Okay, so it'd be CAT. Okay, so angle CAT is going to be congruent to angle DOG. Okay, so hopefully that makes a little more sense. All right, and then we've got one more to do. So we had D in the middle, we had O in the middle. Let's put G in the middle here. So DGO. Okay, so DGO. Sorry about the little smudge there. I think Mason got some glue on here or something. Okay, so angle DGO. All right, now I'll redraw that. So here's angle DGO, and that's going to correspond to CTA. Okay, and there's CTA right there. Okay, so again, make sure you put your angle symbol. Your vertice has to be in the middle, which is the corner of the angle, and then your endpoints just have to be on the outside. Okay, so we just have to make sure we understand the different notations. See you, Ohm. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, we just have to make sure we understand the different notations. When I draw a triangle, I'm referring to a triangle. Okay, so up here I'm talking about triangle DOG, and there it is, DOG. Okay, and we're saying it's congruent to CAT. Okay, line segments, like I said, you have two endpoints. Put the line segment symbol over the top, and then make sure that these same endpoints line up with the endpoints of the other triangle. All right, so with congruency statements, you can see on here, and I'll zoom in on that. Okay, you can see that nothing is drawn, but there's no rule that says you can't draw yourself. Okay, so if you're a more visual learner and it's easier to explain it or see it that way, draw it. I mean, I have to do that. I don't know about you guys, but like for me, geometry is a huge weak point of mine. Like it uses a different part of your brain, and it's a little bit more visual. And I've never been like a very visual learner. I've been much more of like a number cruncher. So like algebra and basic computation, spreadsheets, like those things make sense to me. But geometry, like I have a really hard time with. And even as a teacher, that weakness hasn't gone away. Okay, and it's kind of funny that this is the first unit I get to teach. Teaching Math 8. So if you're having a hard time with this, it has nothing to do with your intelligence. I want to be very clear about that. Where it's very easy to be like, oh my gosh, I feel so dumb. I don't understand this. But in reality, you're using a different part of your brain that you just maybe don't exercise as much. And there are people that are very strong at geometry that they're probably like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like I can show off what I know because this makes sense to me. Okay. So geometry is, you have to see things a little differently. You've got to slow yourself down. And like, I have to slow myself down even as a teacher. Okay. So don't get discouraged if you are confused by the geometry concepts that we're going over. Okay. Can't wait for algebra, said nobody except me. Now I'm saying it too, for real. No, seriously. It's like, even as a teacher, I'm like, man, when I could start teaching algebra and just number crunching like that, that makes more sense to me. And I feel like I can relate that better. But geometry, I have a hard time with. But I've also, I do a lot of woodworking on the side. I've done a lot of my own house repairs. I actually built the stand that my fish tank is on. It's holding 1,000 pounds. And that's all geometry. And that's stuff I had to learn. Okay, so geometry is very applicable, especially if you ever want to build something for yourself. So have that can-do attitude, know that you can do it, and know that what you're doing, it might not be easy, but we just got to work through it and just got to see things a little differently. So trying to think of what else. I hope these congruency statements make sense. So I did identify congruent sides, I identified congruent angles. So I'm ready to move on to another problem if you guys have one you want me to go over. And good to have you back, Mr. Pat. And good to see Mrs. Wiesner in the chat. Thanks for monitoring the chat for me. And anything you think I need to go over, Mrs. Wiesner, I'm more than happy to do so. So we seventh grade math teachers, we all work together. We get ideas from each other. So I think Mrs. Wiesner is actually going to host the next video. So look forward to that. So let me see, get rid of that. Okay. All right, there we go. That's gone. Okay, 5, 5, 5, 13, and 5. So I think we'll go with problem 5, but don't worry. I have heard you, Miss Gating, and we will get to that. Okay, QRST is transformed to create QRST prime, we'll say. So what sequence of transformations maps one to the other? Select all that apply. Okay, so this one's talking about, I'm going to draw this up, and I'm going to, okay. So my lines are probably not going to be perfect, so you got to bear with me on that. Okay. So I'm going to zoom this in a little bit so that's a little easier to see. Because the problem, as you can see on there, you can see we're only in the bottom right quadrant, so that's all I'm going to draw on here. Okay. Okay. So there we go. And I'm going to leave a little room for myself to work. All right. So I'm not going to draw all the lines just because I think that might be causing our vision problem a little bit. So I'm going to try just to do dashes and kind of count my way over. So it might not be perfect, but at least to be able to see the shapes. And this actually goes up by 2. So it goes 2, 4. So this is 4, this is 8, this is 12, this is 16, this is 20. So this is a -4, -8, -12, -16, -20. Okay, and if I need another one, I'll get it. Actually, I do. I got to keep going. So -24 and -24. Okay, so it says that my first shape, so I just have to draw the shapes. That's step 1 here. I got to get the shapes down. Is this on the study guide? So Ryan, you're in my Math 7 class, remember? So this is my Math 8 class. This is my first hour. So this isn't stuff that we're doing in 4th hour. So hopefully this isn't confusing you because my Math 8 students in 1st hour have a test tomorrow. So hopefully that didn't confuse you. Okay, so I'm over 4 and I'm down 6. So over 4, down 6. This is I'm drawing the original shape right now. So this is Q. Okay, so and then I'm over 10, down the same. And this is R. Okay, so I got to get this drawn up so you can see it before I can make it make sense. So that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, so there's T and there is S. So here's the shape we're dealing with. Okay, and the new shape, which I'll draw in a different color because I like color, you know. 5 is the question that you figure out by analyzing the test. Okay, but this one I'll come back to 5. I know I saw a bunch of people say 5. I want to do 13 because I think it's something that we want to make sure we talk about first. So sorry, I totally was like, hey, what everyone want, and I'm going to do the opposite. Sorry. That wasn't cool of me. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just the worst. Okay. And we go down to 26. There we go. Okay, and then we go all the way to here. All right, so we have a dilation. Okay, and I'm gonna go over a couple dilation problems tonight at some point. But I know that I don't want to go too late. I'm almost up to 9 o'clock, and I don't want to keep you guys up too late. And I can always do a video after and upload it later so you can see it tomorrow. But let me see. Okay, so this one says we're trying to figure out what's true. So the first one says center of dilation Q, dilation of 3, vertical translation of -8 units. Oh man, this is a lot to think about. Okay, so what sequence of transformation maps one to the other? Center of dilation Q. Okay, well, here's the thing. Here's Q prime. Here's T prime. And S prime, R prime. Okay, so I've had a long day, and I saw Mrs. Wiesner's in here. So Mrs. Wiesner, if you see that I'm doing anything wrong, let me know because I'm starting to get tired, and I might make some silly mistakes, so back me up here. So it says center of dilation is Q. Well, I know right off the bat that my center of dilation can't be Q because if I'm dilating off a point that already exists, then these shapes would overlap at Q. So Q prime and Q would actually be the same point. So I know that the first one can't be true, okay? So I can't select that one, okay? And then, so yeah, I'm doing 13. Sorry, I know I said I was going to do 5. I'm going to do 5 next, I promise, okay? It says center of dilation 0, 0, a dilation of 1/3, vertical translation of 8 units. Well, so right there, I actually know that this is not correct because it says that I'm doing a dilation of 1/3, but to get from QRST to QRST prime, my shape got bigger. So I can't use a fraction because a fraction is less than 1. So if I'm doing a scale factor of less than 1, my shape is going to get smaller. Okay. So sometimes they try to trick you and make you think that you're dealing with this shape. This is your pre-image, but it's not. Okay. This is your pre-image and the image got bigger. So it can't be the second one. Center of dilation Q. Well, we just talked about that. The center of dilation cannot be Q. All right. But now the last one says center of dilation 0, 0. Okay. So our center of dilation, and we're dilating by 3 and a vertical translation of 8 units. Okay, so dilation of 3. So we're going up in scale by 3, and we are doing a vertical translation of 8 units. So by process of elimination, it's got to be that one. So how did I do, Mrs. Wiesner? Did I get that one right? I'm starting to get a little tired here. So, right, yeah. So it can't. So like I said, this one gets larger, so we can't use a fraction. We're not dilating off of Q, so by process of elimination, it has to be the 4th option. So, all right. Let's talk about number 5. Number 5 seems to be a popular question. So I think this is where I'm going to end. I've done a lot of work with dilations. I know the other teachers have as well. So I don't want to get too in-depth on dilations tonight. So here's what I'm going to do. It has to be, yeah, okay. Yeah, very good. So let me see. So Bix drew triangle EFG. This one actually made me laugh. I think a lot of students are overthinking this one, but when I draw it, I think you're going to be like, oh my gosh, really? So check it out. Let's do this one. I'm going to erase all this. kind of bummed my fish tank turned off because I'm missing, you know, a part of making good videos is having good lighting. Because see how you can see my face like back here and it goes on to infinity. What am I doing? I'll just turn the light back on. All right, give me a second. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. Okay. Hold on. Stand by. That's a problem. Okay, hold on. How about... All right, there we go. Okay, back to work. Okay, so again, last thing I'm going to go over is number 5. The test should be pushed back a day so we can watch all the videos and it won't interfere with our sleep. A fair call. And I wanted to do this on Monday, but it just wasn't in the cards for me. So I apologize. I didn't want to do it as late as I am, but you know, here we are. So, all right. So number 5, Bix drew triangle EFG. Okay. So triangle EFG. Okay. So that's the way they're notating it. So I'm just going to draw it. Like I said, I need the visual. So here's E, here's F, here's G. Okay. And I like I said, I told this to a lot of students in class, and a lot of them were like, oh, that's what it is. So it says, then he drew a translation of it, triangle EFG. So he shifted it, right? A translation. So he moved it, and we got EFG prime, right? So when we do a translation, think about what that means. So it says line segment FG is 6 centimeters. FG is 6 centimeters. Okay. The distance between E and E prime is 10 centimeters. Okay. But I'm going to tell you right now, does it really matter? Because it asks how long is FG? Okay. Well, we'll start there. Well, it says F prime G prime. How long is it? Well, here's F prime G prime, right? It's 6. Or sorry, FG is 6, right? Well, we didn't dilate the shape. We didn't change the actual congruency of the shape. So all we did was translate it. Okay. So we just did a translation, which means that this shape and this shape are still congruent. So if FG is 6, F prime G prime is still going to be 6 because they're the same shape. This line segment is congruent to this one. That being said, that doesn't change anything else because all of these are still congruent. Okay. And then it says, suppose G to G is drawn. What is its length? Okay. Oh man, I'm getting tired. So hopefully I get this right. This is the part that even I get a little confused on. So we're talking about this distance here. So we're talking about the distance between E and E. Okay, the distance between E and E is 10 centimeters. Okay. But if you just translated the shape, okay, just a translation, then if this distance between E and E is 10 centimeters, okay, then the translation should be the same for GG. They should still be, good game. They should still be 10 centimeters apart as well. So I think this is one that a lot of people overthought about, but when you draw it out, you start to realize that, oh, we're dealing with 2 congruent triangles, okay? So anyway, yeah, no one's making you watch, by the way. I see some people saying that this is getting late and you want to talk. Well, again, this is an option. This is just something I'm offering on the side. This isn't something mandatory. So if you have to go, you go and you watch it later. If you're here live, then hopefully it's helping you. So weird flex, but okay. All right, whatever. So just bring your snacks upstairs. All right, whatever. Anyway, so moving on. Let's make sure we're staying appropriate in the chat. Remember that, you know, your first and last names are attached to this. So, you know, I'm glad we're being cool. So we're being cool about stuff, which is good. So now number 9. Okay. So number 9, actually, okay. Number 9 is the last one I'll go over. Because again, this talks about congruency statements. It doesn't give us a picture. So this is something that I, as a teacher, I'm thinking like maybe I could have given a little more practice on. So, my dad said, thanks, Mr. Coffee. My pleasure, Miss Lux. You tell your dad he's very welcome. I'm happy to help. Okay. It's my job. Okay. So I don't mind doing it. Kids are asleep. My wife works night shift. So what else am I doing right now? Except I do have to get some grades in. So I gotta update my grades. That's my next order of business, but I'll probably get to that tomorrow. So, all right. Last one. This is very helpful. Good. I'm glad, Gabby. It's good to see you again. You know, so I had you in 4th grade, right? So for those of you who don't know, but anyway. All right, okay. Get this out of here. Okay. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. So I made my whiteboard all wet. Just give me like 1 second here. Now my sock is green. Okay. We'll just put that back on. Gross. Okay, so last question, number 9. Okay, so we have if we have triangle cat is congruent to triangle dog, which statements must be true? So remember when we talked about triangle notation, cat, okay, is congruent to triangle dog. Okay, what we're saying is the order for this triangle is going to coordinate with the order from this triangle, and again, these triangles are congruent. Okay, so what we're saying is that these angles, the corresponding angles are congruent and the corresponding sides are congruent, okay? So let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do with these statements. So it says that the measure, so when you have a little m, okay, this means the measure of. So the measurement of angle A is equal to the measurement, oops, that's not a measurement of angle O, all right? So here's angle A, here's angle O. We're saying these triangles are congruent, so the corresponding angles have to be congruent. So this one checks out. That is correct. That's true. Okay. Angle C and angle D are congruent. So C, let me see. What am I doing? There we go. Like I said, I'm starting to get tired, so yeah, I might start making some silly mistakes. So do C and G coordinate, or do they correspond to one another? The answer is no, because C is congruent to D. It's not congruent to G. All right, T is congruent to G. So this one cannot be true, okay, because these don't correspond in the order that we were given for this congruency statement. So, all right, so it says that CA is equal to OG. So CA is equal to OG, okay, and I would say like congruent, right? I mean, it says equal, but I think they mean congruent. I feel like they should also have line segment symbols over that, but I'm not an expert necessarily. I just teach this stuff. But all right, so CA is right here and OG is over here. So these two don't correspond. We can't use an equal sign. They don't have these little notations. So I feel for all those reasons we have to say no. Okay. And then the last one asks if CT is congruent to DO. Okay. So here's CT. Here's DO. Okay. And again, the order doesn't correspond. So these line segments cannot be congruent. So your only viable answer is that the measurement of A, which is here, is congruent to O because, again, we're talking about congruent triangles. So I'm seeing some yeps and yays, so I'm hoping that we're getting this one correct. So, all right. So anyway, so that's all I got for tonight. We're creeping up on 9 o'clock here. I don't want to make this go too long. So let me know what questions you have. Coming in the morning. You have Math 8 is first hour, so you also have the luxury of having homeroom with your first hour class usually. Okay, so homeroom is a great time to come find me if you have any lingering questions or to watch these videos again, depending on what your homeroom teacher allows. But again, I know that we're coming right up before the test, but again, if it's important to you, you find a way to watch this. So some of you did, and if it's not, you find an excuse, and that's fine too. But you can always watch it tomorrow. And this isn't something that you had to do. This is something you chose to do. So those of you who chose to do that, that's great. It's only going to help you for tomorrow. So the study guides are going to look pretty similar to the test. It's going to ask and require the same skills. So if you felt comfortable with it, hopefully tonight was a confirmation that you know what you're doing. And if you weren't sure coming into this, hopefully now after seeing this, hopefully you're a lot more confident with the things that maybe we could have gone over a little more. So you can have a crowd of people tomorrow. Oh, that's very confident. So, all right. So I'm going to sign off. So if you have any lingering questions, like I said, make sure you chat with your math teacher. Thanks for stopping in. And again, these will record and the visibility should be better when they save for tomorrow. Miss Fitzgerald, I didn't see that you were here as well. Cool. Glad you stopped in. So, like I said, it's just options. We provide options. So this is another option to make yourself a better math student. So good work to those of you who showed up and to those of you who watched it after. So cool. And thank you to Mrs. Wiesner and Miss Fitzgerald for all your help getting this set up and getting information out to your students. And, next one, I don't know if it'll be me. So it'll be pretty cool to get the other math teachers involved in this as well. So, all right, you guys have a good night. We'll chat tomorrow if need be. And that's all I got. So later.